this comments video. For all you new subs out there, I appreciate that. Thanks for coming in to the community. In this video, I am going to be interacting with you, the viewer, and those of you with enough cojones to leave comments. And the energy you bring is the energy I will return most times. I call it Kuliana. You get what you give. And so first comment comes from someone named Nostrasanaja. And they say, you are not that important, booty. You are a big ego. And you may know some stuff. This at the end of the day turn out to be useless. As you can see, I hearted that comment because it gave me a chuckle. And my Kuliana to that is, thank you for letting me know that I am a big ego. That's what I am, right? A big ego. I applaud you for not relying on spell check or any editing software and just allowing your grammatical ignorance to shine through. Very brave. Keep that in mind, folks. Look at all these errors in their adverb, verb, adjective, pronoun, fiction, babble. Just keep that in mind as we go through these comments. So then they respond, you're welcome. Now, I knew in my heart of hearts that this was not the end of Nostra Sonia. I knew that they wouldn't be able to let it go. So, of course, they come back on and they say, by the way, English is my 7th language. I don't care about use grammar. I got my own thing going on and performed in all continents. I haven't seen you anywhere doing your thing. Well, that's interesting. Before today, I never even heard of this individual. So that's kind of an interesting thing for them to say. Take English away from you and you are nothing. I am a big ego, though. You can't fix ish in any country but the English-speaking ones. What are you talking about? Okay, now I got to take an issue. It's not my volition to fix anything. What needs to be fixed? You know, on a psychological and dare I say spiritual level, if anyone needs fixed, they should fix themselves first before they can help anyone else, right? But actually, you have to consent for yourself to be fixed. I don't think anyone's broken. That's not the way I think of things. Nostra. I think of things in terms of learning and working on oneself. Okay? We are here, maybe of our own volition, maybe not of our own volition, in this domain. And we have to handle and navigate the best we can. It's quite a leap of assumption presumption that something like the system is broken, because the legal system, of which I think you may be alluding to, was here long before I was here, or even you was here, unless you're some sort of vampire or something, in which case you've been here for hundreds of years, but that's another topic. It's not so much that, because we did not create this system. We are pretty much coerced to deal with the system. And so we come up with ways to do that. And one of the ways to do that is correct sentence structure, communication, parse, syntax, grammar. At least that's what this channel is. And if you're here, and if you're anywhere near as smart as you think you are, you would know that. Anyways, I digress. You are a big, arrogant, egomaniac, little person. What? You are a big, arrogant, egomaniac, little person. Talk about dichotomies and contradictions. That's the way this person thinks. Who thinks everyone must know English. I've never said that. And I don't think that. Boy, you really are ignorant. And by ignorant, I mean lacking in knowledge, at least by what you're saying. For my 7th language, I'm doing fantastic. How about you, mister? Your method is not the only one. Obviously, duh. It only works sometimes in your sorry ass country. Good luck, Batman. So they do admit that it works. So there's that. So my cooliona to that is, I knew you wouldn't be able to keep your mouth shut. Jack of 7 languages, master of none. And that was the end of that. Once in a while, I'll get very, very entertaining individuals like this who think they know something about something. They come on here with 0 credentials, 0 credibility. They don't use their correct name. They're just out here yapping. They're from Yapperville in Narnia. And this is how I send them on their way. Thanks for the entertainment, bro. Or lady bro, whichever the case may be. Next comment comes from Cat I Am. And they say, so they changed sentence structure in 1988. I refuse to interact blatantly with AI. It lies. It even admits it does. I think they're referring to a David-WYNN Miller and Russell J. Gould scenario. And at the time in 1988, I think it was just David-WYNN Miller. So there's no they there. I think it's just David. And then they say, is ChatGPT versus GPT versus GBT. Okay. Then I said they did not change sentence structure. They corrected it. And I'm talking about Russell and David, and I'm talking mostly about David. In his mind, he corrected the sentence structure from adverb, verb, adjective, pronoun, fiction, babble to bringing in the prepositional phrases, which make up the concatenation of correct sentence structure, communication, parsing, syntax, grammar. I agree with you as far as AI goes. I'm not sure it can lie. I thought only humans could lie. That implies malicious intent. As far as I know, computers are not capable of doing anything beyond what they are programmed to do. Meaning, a computer is neither malicious or benevolent. They do what they're programmed to do. They're not autonomous beings. I mean, they can have an autonomous programming, but it all goes back to their source programming. There's no deviation from that. So if there's malicious intent in an AI program, it's because the programmers put it there. From my knowledge. I mean, I could be wrong. Then Cat I Am says, I see improper English grammar in your responses. I is subjective. Me is objective. Okay. And then I say, if you have no clue as to what quantum grammar is, it's okay to admit it. I have over 1,000 free videos on the subject right here on this channel. My gift to you. Enjoy and welcome. As some folks do who I just prod a little bit. They get all defensive and then they start leveling criticism at me. Even though they've come on to my channel, my domain, my house. They don't read the terms and conditions of the comments field, obviously. They never do. I'll bet this individual's from North America, because that's usually how they act. They don't bother to avail themselves of the terms and conditions before they walk into someone's house. They just walk in, yapping from Yapperville in Narnia. Next comment comes from Health, Beauty, Mean something. And they say, good, he can stay in prison, he's evil. And they're talking about Mark, lowercase k, Kishon, Christopher. And then I ask, why do you say that he's evil? Just curious. And then they say, I was on a Telegram app at the time, and it was full of Trump supporters. I mentioned I didn't like him. Someone told me to watch myself because Kishon was going to be the one to make public executions legal. I didn't know very much about MAGA at the time, but I worked out it was a cult. Kishon and a guy named Ricardo Bassi, who is in Australia, were in it. Kishon and a guy, okay, so Mark Kishon Christopher was in a cult named MAGA? Damn. MAGA tried very hard to push those guys onto me. I think this individual is perhaps a bit confused. This is a guess on my part. Because if I walk down the street and there's lots of MAGA people on my block, and I ask them if they know who Mark Sean Christopher is or Ricardo Bassi, I will bet you 9.9 times out of 10 they're going to look at me the same way they would look at me if I asked them who David-WYNN Miller or Russell J. Gould are. Or if I asked them who G.I. Gurdjieff was. So I think this individual is a bit confused. I worked out that they were trying to recruit people from around the world to their cult regime to brainwash and turn people against their governments and police forces. Hold on a minute. MAGA is supportive of government. MAGA supports the current government that's in the USA. So why would they be turning against the government if they're MAGA? Again, there's a lot of dichotomies going on here. Our PM, I guess they mean Prime Minister, and I think they're from Australia, is a good and decent guy, no matter what the bots and trolls are saying. Really. So that's their bar for a good and decent guy, is the Prime Minister of Australia, the same one who implemented lockdowns, mandates, forced jabs. That's a good and decent guy? They're letting us know that the bar that they have for a good and decent guy. And then they say that Mark Sean Christopher is evil because he wanted to bring back public executions. Not to mention that, there are executions in the world. There are countries that perform capital punishment. USA is one of them. But to do that in public, now that's going too far, man. We can't kill them in public, right? Unless you're in Saudi Arabia, where as of August 5th, they have publicly beheaded 241 individuals, from my understanding, without any due process at all. And that's one of our greatest allies. And actually, the Prince of Saudi Arabia was at the Canelo Crawford fight not too long ago. So we're good buddies with the nation of executioners there. MAGA is good buddies with them. Our police force isn't perfect, and yes, like anywhere, someone might slip through the cracks, and no doubt it would be stopped just as fast as it started. Oh, no doubt. As a general rule, our police force are good and decent people. I lost access to my Telegram and my emails to retrieve the passwords, but I did report all that I knew along with information I had, in the hope that it would help Australia and our allies, and I did say to one idiot after he said, "Wait until Trump saves your stupid country," after I told him to get lost, to shove it, and Trump, we don't need him here, he's evil, to keep his opinions to himself about Australia and Australians. Kishon was right in there with Trump, just like Bassi. So this individual took the Telegram communications and turned them into the authorities, I suppose. Wow. Interesting. Interesting thing to do. If you see something, say something. Folks, how do you say you're an authoritarian follower without saying you're an authoritarian follower? Next comment comes from another Australian, or Aussie, as they say. Ted Berry Combo, longtime viewer and member. Thanks for the membership, Teddy. And he says, no, I don't trust my government on all levels. The government has pulled a few shifty deeds. Police courts are corrupt here in Australia. We still have spires atop of flags. A man is doing 14 months in a private prison for typing his children's name in a Facebook post that allegedly breached an intervention order. I totally agree with you, Jason. Well, thank you, Teddy. I'm glad to know that folks like you are down there in Australia, free thinkers, critical thinkers, and I do know a lot of folks down in Australia who are the same way, of the same mindset, and I actually know a couple folks down there who have closure on correct sentence structure, communication, parse, syntax, grammar, former students of mine. So I hope they're all doing well down there. Next comment comes from Mother Binary, and they say, go back to the drawing board. You act like it's the first time you read it. And my cooliana to that is, take her out of the plastic. She's acting brand new. The video's over 2 years old. Are you normally that slow? Are you? Another one from Nostra Sonia, and they say, not a smart thing at all to buy the narrative of the lefty lonely wolf doing this, meaning the Charlie Kirk situation. Let's all ignore the fact that Charlie was killed because he took money from Zionists and then betrayed the deal. But sure, he was murdered by some F@GET lefty. Come on, man. And my cooliana to that is, what the hell are you talking about? Did you even watch the entire video? If you buy into the left-right paradigm or any of this mainstream garbage, then you are on the wrong YouTube channel, man. Next one comes from Quantum Cody. And they say, do you have a section in your lexicon for the suffixes of your word? Is for the closure of the suffixes with the closure by a lexicographer. And my cooliana to that is, my correct sentence structure dictionary contains closure on the words and particles I use in correct sentence structure contract. Are you conversant with correct sentence structure, communication, parse, syntax, grammar? And then they say, for the authoring of the lexicon is with the now space performance by this author. I'm beginning to start to look at their very simple, very basic, but nicely formatted correct sentence structure communications. I'm seeing particles of negation in their facts, such as the ing and the NOW, which not a big deal, but for someone who has complete 100% closure on this grammar, they would know that because they would have done their homework and studied. So then my cooliana is, for the claimant's knowledge of the facts is with the function claim of the particle ing, with the performance of the modification and of the negative particle, with the certification of any grammar textbook, with this knowledge shared by this claimant, with the Jason Matthew by the glass. So what I'm saying here is that you can certify that ing is a particle of negation and a modifier by looking in any grammar textbook. If you look up the suffix ing, it will say it is a modifier. It modifies things. And yet, this individual is using it in their sentence. So then I say, by the way, I answered your question, yet you did not answer mine. A yes or a no will do, thank you. And then they said yes. And then I said, it's clear that you possess some knowledge, but to what extent I'm not sure. If you'd like to obtain 100% closure on correct sentence structure, you are welcome to study the 1,000 plus free videos here or contact me at jasonmatthewg17@gmail.com and apply for workshops. Please include your full correct name. That's my first offer. So instead of responding to that, they decide to write another comment. And then they say is, and from the position of the colon, it's is of the movement of the correct sentence structure. So right away, the concatenation is incorrect. So this individual is not conversant in correct sentence structure, communication, parsing, syntax, grammar. Now, as far as the correct sentence structure communication goes, this individual has knowledge. However, they're not all the way there. And also, I have no idea what their syntax knowledge is. So obviously, they do not have closure on this grammar technology. And also, because they use particles of negation in their sentences, their parse knowledge is also lacking. So the three elements of correct sentence structure. Correct sentence structure communication, yeah, they're 75 to maybe 85% there. Parse, not so much, because they're using particles of negation in their facts, so that's probably less than 50%. And as far as syntaxing goes, if we're to guess by their parse knowledge, I bet their syntaxing knowledge isn't above 50% either. So they got a long ways to go, by my humble perception, 8+ years of teaching this. So with the conjunction of the drogue law timeline and of the salvage law timeline with the writ methods by an author. So again, they're using the particles of negation in the fact. Like, for example, movement is a contract with pushing away. That's a negative particle. If they did their parse homework, they would know this. But they're severely lacking in that department. Along with the word time, they say, does the 45 in 1 year and 1 day work in conjunction with the forward and backward movement and questioning of the correct sentence structure? Okay, so here is my Cooliana to that. I know for sure that you do not have closure on correct sentence structure based upon your frequent use of negative particles in your facts, as well as incorrect positional concatenation. Therefore, your question here is moot, as your knowledge of salvage mechanics is also lacking. Otherwise, you would know the answer already. For a second time, if you'd like to gain closure on correct sentence structure, apply for workshops at jasonmatthewg17@gmail.com. Also, the fact that you have not credentialed yourself after several comments of this type is very interesting to me as a correct sentence structure tutor of 8+ years. So let's go into this a little bit more here. So they're talking about salvage law. That's a year and a day. And they're talking about drogue law timeline. Now, a drogue law, I don't use the word law in my correct sentence structure because I feel that belongs to the legal system. But I mean, you folks out there, if you choose to use it, that's up to you. In my construct, I'm not going to dock you for it if we're going to contract. We just have to have a discussion on that. But I call them drogues, as in, do you know what a drogue is? Have you ever looked up in a dictionary, in a fiction dictionary, what a drogue is? So if you know what that is, then you know that there are several drogues that I use. To name a few, the 3-day, the 10-day / 2-week answer back, 45-day, 90-day, year and a day, 7-year. You know, I use several timelines. I call them timelines, but also known as drogues. So this question is not really answerable because they don't, number one, have closure on correct sentence structure, and number two, they're obviously still learning about drogues. So in the context of what they're saying is, does the 45 in 1 year and 1 day work in conjunction with the forward and backward movement of the correct sentence structure? I mean, the timelines work with correct sentence structure, but it's up to the author as to how that happens, because they are the authority of that. As far as the questioning, I'm not sure what they mean by that, quite frankly. I don't know what they mean by that. And the way they're using the word conjunction, the video they're commenting on was the complete conjunction mechanics video that I published a few years ago. But again, this betrays their lack of knowledge or perhaps comprehension of correct sentence structure mechanics, because they're using the word conjunction not in the same way as the part of speech conjunction. So, whoever they are, that's another thing that I will bring up. If an individual is using correct sentence structure, communication, parsing, syntax, grammar, they definitely have to get over the anonymity thing. You got to be able to put your full correct name behind what you're saying. You have to be able to stand and hold a position behind what you're saying. You have to have confidence in the words you're using as the author and creator of those words. Otherwise, there is no authority, and they don't mean anything. It's all about coming up to the carpet, establishing the geometric level playing field of contract communication, rule 1, rule equal. And this individual is definitely not doing that by not credentialing themselves. So whoever they are, as a tutor, they're on my channel in my house. My counsel would be to keep studying, and you're more than welcome to contact me to apply for workshops, which it seems like you're not with the volition of doing. So either which way, I wish you well. Whatever you're doing, looks like you're doing good at it on your journey, because your correct sentence structure is very nice. It's much better than most folks that I see from the Russell J. Gould people or the Mark Sean Christopher people. So there's that. All right, folks, thanks for watching. Que sera, sera.